Have you ever felt the sting of realizing someone you trusted was never real with you? That slow, sinking feeling in your gut when it all clicks, the lies, the fake smiles, the way they used your kindness like a weakness. It shakes you, not just because they fooled you, but because deep down you knew something was off. And you ignored it. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You believed in their potential. You kept hoping they would change. But all they did was keep showing you exactly who they were. It hurts, doesn't it? Because betrayal doesn't come from enemies. It comes from the ones you let close, from the ones you defended, the ones you poured into while they slowly drained you. And the worst part? You start questioning yourself. Was I too much? Too sensitive? Too naive? But the truth is, you weren't the problem. You were just too good at seeing the best in people who had no intention of showing it. This is your wake-up call. Not to become bitter, not to build walls, but to open your eyes, to see clearly, to learn the signs, to guard your peace without guilt. Because the truth is, there are people who feed off your light. They'll smile to your face and root for your downfall behind your back. They'll act like they care, but only when it benefits them. And if you don't learn to recognize them, they'll keep coming. Different faces, same game. But you have power. You have instincts that speak even when words don't. You felt that tension in your chest around certain people. That unease. That sudden exhaustion after being in their presence. That's not just a bad mood. That's your soul trying to warn you. And when you stop ignoring those signals, when you start listening instead of explaining away the red flags, everything changes. Imagine the freedom of walking through life without second-guessing yourself. Imagine surrounding yourself with people who lift you instead of drain you. Imagine protecting your energy so fiercely that fake people can't even get close. That kind of clarity isn't just peace. It's power. And once you have it, you'll never settle again. That's why you need to stay. Because this isn't just about spotting liars or manipulators. It's about healing your blind spots, reclaiming your voice, and learning to stand so strong in who you are that no fake person can shake you again. You're not here by accident. You're here because something in you is ready to stop being fooled. You're ready to stop feeling guilty for walking away. You're ready to see clearly and protect your future. So don't look away. Don't tell yourself this doesn't apply to you. Because deep down, you know it does. And the sooner you open your eyes, the sooner you'll stop living at the mercy of people who never truly cared. This is your moment to change everything, starting now. Fake people are masters of disguise. They study you, not to understand you, but to use what they learn against you. They watch what makes you smile. They mimic your values. They mirror your dreams. They tell you what you want to hear, not because they mean it, but because it gives them access. Access to your time, your trust, your heart. And by the time you realize they were never real, they've already taken what they came for. That's the danger. They don't come waving red flags. They come wearing masks that look like love, support, and friendship. But the truth can't stay hidden forever. Because no matter how polished the words are, energy doesn't lie. You start noticing the little cracks, the way their support disappears the moment you shine too brightly, the way they turn distant when you need them most, the way they twist your words, question your worth, or guilt you into silence. You think maybe it's you. Maybe you're asking too much. Maybe you're being paranoid. But listen closely, that's the trap. They want you to doubt your own judgment, so you keep letting them stay. What they really fear is you seeing them clearly, because once you do, the game ends. Once you stop falling for the charm and start watching their patterns, their control disappears. And you don't need to confront them with anger. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to see them for who they really are, not who they pretend to be. That kind of clarity is rare. Most people ignore the signs because they're scared of the truth. Scared to admit they were fooled, scared to be alone, scared to let go. But holding on to fake people won't fill the emptiness. It only delays the healing. Because every time you choose comfort over truth, you keep yourself stuck in a cycle that slowly breaks you. But you're not weak, you're not naive, you're human. And being open-hearted isn't a flaw. But now, it's time to match your kindness with wisdom. It's time to stop letting people rent space in your life when they've never paid with loyalty or honesty. It's time to raise your standards. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because when you start protecting your peace like your life depends on it, the right people can finally find you. The ones who don't need to fake anything. The ones who show up with truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You weren't born to be used. You weren't meant to shrink to keep others comfortable. You were made to rise, to shine, to build a life rooted in truth. And it starts by recognizing who doesn't belong in your light. Let their mask fall, let their words fade. Because what's fake can't survive where truth stands strong. Your eyes are open now. Keep them open. Don't trade clarity for comfort again. If you've ever asked yourself, why do I keep attracting people like this? You're not alone. The answer isn't that you're cursed. It's not that something is wrong with you. It's deeper than that. It's because bad people are drawn to what they can take from you. And if you don't know your worth, if you're still healing from wounds that taught you to settle, then their behavior won't look like manipulation at first. It will feel like attention. It will feel like care. And that's how they get in. Not by forcing their way, but by slipping through your unguarded spaces. The deepest part of you wants to be seen, heard, chosen. It's human. You crave connection. You want to feel important to someone. But when you carry pain that hasn't been healed, that hunger becomes a weakness they exploit. They sense it. And they feed it with just enough kindness to keep you close. Just enough validation to keep you hopeful. But real connection doesn't confuse you. It doesn't drain you. It doesn't come with conditions that leave you feeling small. This is where the shift begins. When you stop asking, why are they like this? And start asking, why am I still accepting this? You start owning your patterns. You start recognizing the places where you traded standards for comfort. And the moment you stop blaming yourself for being hurt, but start taking responsibility for your healing, is the moment you take your power back. You don't attract what you deserve. You attract what you tolerate. And when you raise your standards, the wrong people will fall away. Not because you're being cruel, but because your healing no longer matches their dysfunction. And yes, that process will feel lonely at first. It'll feel quiet, like you're walking through a desert with no one around. But don't mistake that silence for emptiness. It's not emptiness. It's space. It's space being cleared for something real. For people who see you without needing to use you. For relationships that don't depend on you shrinking yourself just to be enough. This journey isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming whole. Because when you know who you are, when you learn to give yourself the love you once begged others for, fake people lose all power over you. They can't manipulate a soul that's already full. They can't trick someone who finally sees clearly. So if you've been attracting the same kind of pain, the same kind of disrespect, over and over again, don't hate yourself. Don't spiral. Wake up. Look in the mirror and decide today to end the cycle. You're not here to be broken again and again. You're here to rise from it, to learn, to grow, to transform into someone who no longer chases love but becomes it. That power has always been in you. Now is the time to unlock it. No more settling, no more second chances for people who proved who they were. You know better now, so choose better. Starting with yourself. Not everyone who hurts you is evil, and not everyone who cries for you loves you. There's a line that separates the broken from the toxic, and knowing that line changes everything. Some people hurt others because they're hurting. They make mistakes. They lash out. They fall short, but they take ownership. They feel remorse. They want to grow. But others, they hurt you and then blame you for bleeding. They twist your pain into a weapon, deflect, deny, and disguise their poison as love. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll spend your life trying to fix people who are committed to breaking you. You can't heal someone who enjoys being wounded. You can't pour love into someone who only opens their hands when they want something from you. And you can't stay stuck hoping for someone to change when they've shown you over and over they have no intention of becoming better. It's not unkind to let people face the consequences of their actions. It's not cruel to say no. You've been taught that patience is love, that endurance means loyalty. But what if love also means walking away? What if loyalty to yourself matters just as much as loyalty to someone else? Forgiveness doesn't mean keeping the door open. It means releasing the bitterness so it no longer controls you. But boundaries? That's what keeps the poison from re-entering your life, and you need both. You need the peace that comes from letting go of hate, and the wisdom to never let certain people near your heart again. You don't owe everyone access. You don't have to keep proving that you're kind by letting people misuse it. Real growth starts when you stop excusing behavior just because it came from someone with a sad story. Pain isn't a permission slip to cause harm. Your empathy is a gift, but it needs protection. Because if you're not careful, you'll feel guilty for protecting yourself. You'll confuse manipulation with love. You'll think setting boundaries makes you cold. But it doesn't. It means you're awake now. It means you've learned to choose peace over chaos, truth over excuses, love that heals over love that hurts. You're not a savior. You are not responsible for fixing what someone else refuses to admit is broken. Stop trying to be the exception in their pattern. If they've left a trail of damaged people behind them, you're not going to be the one who changes them. But you can change yourself. You can choose to stop dancing around their dysfunction. You can choose to step out, to breathe, to live free from the weight of someone else's choices. And yes, it hurts, but staying will hurt even more. Let them go. Let their healing be their own responsibility. You're not cold, you're clear. And that clarity will lead you into relationships where love feels like safety, not survival. where connection feels like peace, not pressure. You deserve that. And it begins the moment you stop confusing broken with toxic. There comes a moment when silence becomes your greatest teacher, when the noise of excuses, manipulation, and confusion finally fades, and all you're left with is your own voice, the one you've ignored for far too long. That voice has always known the truth. It whispered warnings while you silenced it with hope. It spoke through discomfort while you drowned it in overthinking. But it never stopped speaking. It never stopped trying to protect you. And now, in this quiet, it's clearer than ever. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone should be allowed into your sacred space. You've given too much of yourself to people who didn't see the value in your heart. You've watered dead gardens. You've explained yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And the truth is, you were never too much. You were simply too present in the lives of people who never earned your presence. You were available to those who only saw you as a backup plan. And the longer you stay in places where you're not valued, the more you begin to forget your own worth. But that ends now. This is where you start choosing peace over approval. This is where you stop justifying your boundaries to people who only respected you when you had none. This is where you realize that some people don't hate you. They hate that they can't control you anymore. They hate that you're waking up. That you're finally listening to the voice inside that says, I deserve better. And you do, not because you're perfect, not because you've never made mistakes, but because you've grown. You've done the inner work. You've faced your reflection. You've taken responsibility for your healing. And now, you refuse to lower your standards just to keep people close. That's strength. Real strength isn't how long you can endure disrespect. It's how quickly you walk away once you recognize it. It's how firmly you choose your peace, even when it's lonely. Even when it's misunderstood, even when guilt tries to pull you back into places you've outgrown. And yes, there will be moments when you miss the comfort of familiar chaos, but remind yourself, chaos is not love, confusion is not connection, pain is not proof that you care. You don't need to beg for clarity. You don't need to keep chasing people who only show up when it's convenient for them. Let your silence speak. Let your absence teach them what your presence was worth. And most of all, let your healing become your standard. Not something you compromise for the sake of temporary attention. You're not bitter. You're not closed off. You're awake. You're aware. And you finally realize that real love doesn't have to be earned through pain. Real love sees you, respects you, and meets you with truth. Anything less is a distraction. Anything less is a delay. And you don't have time to waste on people who never intended to grow with you. Keep moving. Eyes open, heart guarded, soul aligned. Every time you protect your peace, you take back your power. You remind yourself that your life is not a playground for people who confuse access with entitlement. Just because someone had a role in your past does not mean they deserve a place in your future. Growth demands distance. It demands that you no longer apologize for becoming someone who refuses to tolerate what once broke you. This is the quiet revolution within you, the shift from seeking to pleasing, to choosing your wholeness over their comfort. You're not abandoning people. You're honoring yourself. You're learning that not all loyalty is healthy, not all love is mutual, and not all connections are meant to be carried forever. Some are meant to teach, to test, to reveal what still needs healing. And once that lesson is clear, holding on is no longer loyalty. It's self-betrayal. You've been through enough to know what confusion feels like, what guilt feels like, what fake support disguised as friendship feels like. And the more you learn to trust your body, your spirit, your instincts, the more you recognize when something isn't safe, even when it looks familiar. You don't need to be liked by everyone. That's not your purpose. Your calling is higher than approval. It's deeper than validation. You were not created to fit into broken systems or shrink to make others feel secure. You were made to rise. And that rising often begins when you release what no longer aligns. That's the cost of clarity. You lose people who are attached to your confusion. You lose those who fed off your fear. But what you gain is far greater: freedom, self-respect, and the quiet confidence of knowing who you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. This strength isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It's the kind of strength that lets you walk away without bitterness, that lets you choose solitude over disrespect. It's what grows when you finally believe that you don't have to sacrifice your peace just to feel loved. And yes, you may lose some people when you raise your standards, but you'll never lose what's real. Because real doesn't flinch at your growth. Real doesn't run from your boundaries. Real doesn't punish you for changing. Let your life reflect your healing. Let your choices show your clarity. You don't need to announce your transformation. You just need to live it. Let your silence speak for the storms you've survived. Let your strength show in how you walk away from what you once begged to stay. This is your moment to stop watering what's not growing. To stop fighting for places you were never meant to belong. To stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You are not here to carry everyone. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live aligned with truth, peace, and purpose. And that begins when you no longer feel guilty for protecting your soul. Keep rising. Keep walking. Eyes forward, no looking back. You are no longer available for people who drain you. Not because you're angry. Not because you're bitter. But because you've finally learned to love yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve. Your peace is priceless. And anyone who threatens it, questions it, or mocks it is showing you they were never meant to hold space in your life. You are not hard to love. You are just no longer willing to be loved in half measures, no longer willing to be tolerated when you were made to be valued, no longer available for emotional games disguised as loyalty. This is your awakening, the moment when your energy becomes intentional, when you stop leaking it into people who never fill you, who never pour back, who only show up when they're empty and leave when you need them most. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's dependency built on convenience. And you are not a convenience. You are not a temporary fix. You are not a second choice. You are a whole being, worthy of consistency, honesty, and depth. And anything less than that is a distraction from the life you were meant to build. Stop shrinking yourself to make broken people feel secure. Stop hiding your growth so others won't feel left behind. You are not responsible for the discomfort your healing creates in those who refuse to evolve. Your rise is not a threat. It's a reminder of what's possible when someone chooses courage over comfort, truth over denial. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. You don't need to explain light to people committed to darkness. It's time to redefine loyalty. Loyalty is not staying silent while someone disrespects you. It's not sacrificing your mental health for someone who only remembers your worth when they need something. True loyalty starts with loyalty to yourself, to your values, your peace, your purpose. And once that foundation is strong, the right people will rise to meet you. You won't have to chase, beg, or prove. You'll simply attract what matches your truth. You've outgrown pretending not to notice red flags. You've outgrown carrying conversations that drain your spirit. You've outgrown defending your boundaries to people who benefit from crossing them. That's growth. That's clarity. That's self-respect. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel alone. But solitude with peace is 1,000 times better than company that costs your soul. You're not heartless. You're healing. And healing teaches you to let go of what hurts, even if it once felt familiar. You're choosing yourself. Not out of pride, but out of clarity. Because the life you desire cannot be built on the approval of those who never valued you. You owe it to yourself to break free, to protect your spirit, to stand tall in your truth. And as you do, watch the wrong ones fade and the right ones appear, not because you chased them, but because you finally chose you. That's the shift, that's the power, and it's only just beginning. You no longer have to explain your worth to people who choose not to see it. The moment you realize that someone's inability to value you says more about them than it does about you, everything begins to shift. You stop seeking permission to shine. You stop shrinking to stay small in rooms where your presence was only tolerated, never embraced. You begin to understand that the people who truly matter will never ask you to prove yourself. They will never ask you to dim your light to make them feel more comfortable in their shadows. There is power in recognizing who is for you and who is simply near you. Proximity doesn't mean loyalty. Shared history doesn't guarantee shared intentions. Time spent doesn't equal love given. And once your eyes open to this, you can't go back to pretending. You can't unsee the patterns. You can't unknow the truth. What you can do is decide that your future is too important to be shaped by people who keep pulling you back into old versions of yourself. You didn't fight through the darkness just to return to it for the sake of keeping others comfortable. You're not obligated to carry the weight of anyone's expectations. You're not here to meet standards that were never yours to begin with. The truth is, some people only support you when you stay beneath them. The moment you rise, they grow distant. The moment you speak up, they grow silent. And the moment you walk in your worth, they label you difficult, arrogant, selfish. But it's not selfish to heal. It's not selfish to grow. It's survival. And survival requires you to cut ties with anything that threatens your peace. You owe yourself the courage to release the masks you wore just to be accepted. You owe yourself the clarity to stop negotiating your value with people who only love the idea of you when you're easy to control. You owe yourself the freedom to say no without guilt, to walk away without explanation, to change without apology. Because the people who are truly for you will celebrate your transformation, not question it. They'll walk with you, not behind you. They'll uplift you, not drain you. Stop waiting for people to become who they promised they were. Stop making excuses for patterns that keep hurting you. The truth is simple. If someone wanted to treat you better, they would. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to wonder. Don't confuse mixed signals with deep emotion. Don't confuse chaos with passion. Don't confuse manipulation with love. Love is peace. Love is safety. Love is clarity. You're not here to fix others. You're here to protect your energy, guard your heart, and walk in alignment with who you're becoming. That version of you doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't settle. That version is rising, and every step you take away from what breaks you brings you closer to everything that builds you. Keep going. Stay awake. Eyes forward. There comes a point when you no longer argue with people who refuse to understand you. Not because you've given up, but because you've risen above the need to explain your existence. You begin to realize that peace is more valuable than being right. That your energy is sacred. That every time you chase clarity from someone who thrives on confusion, you lose a part of yourself. You're not here to beg for honesty. You're not here to plead for respect. You're here to build a life so aligned with truth that anything fake cannot survive in your presence. You're learning to see people for who they are, not who you wish they'd be. That clarity stings at first. It exposes the gap between your love and their intention. But it's also the beginning of your freedom, because once you stop ignoring the signs, you stop making excuses for people who have already shown you their truth. You stop allowing charm to blind you to patterns. You stop mistaking shared laughter for loyalty. You begin to understand that real connection doesn't leave you guessing. Real presence doesn't feel like emotional whiplash. The people who truly care won't leave you in a fog. They won't play games with your mind, won't use silence as punishment, won't twist your words to maintain control. They'll meet you with clarity, with presence, with consistency. And when that becomes your new standard, you no longer feel guilty for walking away from what doesn't measure up. You no longer betray your own intuition just to keep the peace with people who disrupt it. Your time, your energy, your love, they are not unlimited. They are sacred currencies. And when you spend them on those who only withdraw, you end up bankrupt within. That's why discernment matters. That's why you can no longer afford to overlook what your spirit is trying to show you. The pressure in your chest, the unease in your stomach, the restlessness in your thoughts, those are warnings. Listen to them. Your body is often more honest than your mind. It remembers what your heart tries to forget. Not everyone who smiles is kind. Not everyone who stays is safe. Some people linger only to keep you from flying. They fear what you'll become without them. They fear the version of you that sees clearly, chooses wisely, and lives freely. But you no longer owe anyone the watered-down version of yourself. The version that stays silent to avoid conflict. The version that tolerates mistreatment to avoid loneliness. That version was survival. This version is healing. Let your silence be your boundary. Let your distance be your answer. Let your peace speak louder than any confrontation ever could. The moment you stop needing people to validate your worth, you start attracting those who see it without question. You don't need everyone. You just need truth. And when you commit to truth, you naturally release what isn't aligned with it. That is not loss. That is transformation. That is growth. That is freedom. Keep walking. You've come too far to doubt what you now see clearly. Your spirit is more awake than ever. The old illusions no longer hold power over you. You recognize manipulation when it shows up masked as affection. You sense control hiding behind smiles. You feel the shift in energy when someone's intentions don't match their words. That awareness isn't paranoia. It's protection. It's your spirit stepping forward, guarding you from the very patterns that used to break you. You no longer justify discomfort just to maintain connection. You now understand that discomfort is a message, and if you ignore it long enough, it becomes your life. This is where transformation deepens, where you stop begging to be chosen and start choosing yourself, where you stop waiting for someone to treat you better and start becoming someone who no longer entertains disrespect. When your peace becomes your priority, your boundaries no longer feel like walls. They feel like doors that close to what wounds you and open to what heals you. The people who walk through with care are the ones meant to stay. The ones who resist your growth were never for you. And that realization doesn't harden your heart, it strengthens your soul. Every time you say no to something misaligned, you say yes to something greater. You say yes to clarity. You say yes to emotional safety. You say yes to a future built on truth instead of pretense. And yes, that future might look quieter at first. It might be less crowded. But silence is not emptiness. It is space. Space to breathe, to feel, to heal, to rebuild. The ones who deserve access to you will value that space. They won't rush it. They won't disrespect it. They'll honor it because they'll recognize what you had to overcome to protect it. You don't need chaos to feel alive. You don't need confusion to feel desired. Love that is real does not keep you guessing. Respect that is true does not fade when you enforce your standards. When you choose to honor your worth, you set a new tone for every relationship in your life. You stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, and overextending. You no longer carry people who have legs to walk. You no longer bend so far that you break. You rise with grace, not guilt. This is a season where your discernment leads and your spirit speaks louder than your wounds. where you stop chasing potential and start aligning with purpose. You're not here to fix anyone. You're here to protect what you've built within. You're here to grow, to expand, to surround yourself with people who don't just accept your truth but amplify it. The false will fall away. The fake will fade. Let it. You are not losing. You are becoming. Every step forward is a reclaiming of your power. Every boundary drawn is a declaration of your value. You are no longer available for less. You are no longer afraid of alone. You are finally choosing peace, and peace will never be a mistake. You are no longer obligated to shrink for people who are threatened by your growth. Your healing will make some people uncomfortable. Your clarity will expose their confusion. Your boundaries will confront their control. But that is not your burden to carry. You were not created to walk on eggshells just to keep others comfortable in their dysfunction. You were created to walk in truth, to speak with boldness, and to live with integrity. The people who demand that you stay silent are often the ones who fear what your voice will reveal. And once you realize that, you stop asking for permission to exist fully. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. It's in the way you no longer respond to bait. It's in the way you stop defending yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. That's the power of self-respect. It no longer begs. It no longer explains. It simply walks away from anything that drains its dignity. There is strength in silence, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of wisdom. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any argument ever could. The kind of silence that says, I see clearly now, and I choose peace. You don't owe everyone access to your process. You don't have to convince people of your worth. The ones meant for you will recognize it without force. They won't need endless proof. They won't measure your value against their comfort. They'll meet you where you are, without needing to dim your light. Anyone who tries to confuse your confidence with arrogance is projecting their own insecurity. Anyone who calls your clarity cold is trying to keep you from seeing what they hoped you'd ignore. Your light will expose shadows. That's what light does. And some people will leave when that happens. Let them. Their exit is not your loss, it's your alignment. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you start attracting respect. When you stop chasing validation, you start standing in truth. When you stop begging for love, you start building a life rooted in it. And not the kind of love that wavers based on convenience. The kind that remains when it's tested. The kind that grows deeper when truth enters the room. This is not the time to second-guess yourself. This is the time to trust what your soul already knows. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to live in full alignment with who you were born to become. That version of you doesn't fear walking alone. That version doesn't cling to what's familiar just because it's comfortable. That version is ready to rise, ready to release, ready to walk through the doors that fear once told you were locked. They aren't. They never were. You were simply surrounded by voices that taught you to doubt your own. But now your voice is rising. Let it rise. Let it shake the lies loose. Let it lead you home. You no longer owe safety to what unsettles your soul. The need to be accepted by everyone once held you hostage, made you stay where your spirit felt unseen. But now, your eyes are open. You recognize that peace is not found in the approval of the crowd, but in the alignment of your actions with your truth. You've outgrown the spaces where your silence was expected and your strength was seen as defiance. You've outgrown the roles where you had to dim your light to keep fragile egos intact. That version of you served its purpose, but it no longer fits. And you're allowed to release it. It's not your job to carry the weight of other people's discomfort with your evolution. When you grow, you break cycles, and cycles do not break quietly. They crack. They resist. They scream for things to stay the same. But you did not come this far to turn back. You did not endure the storms of your becoming just to settle back into what broke you. The truth is, some people only loved the version of you they could control. They admired your light only when it wasn't too bright. They supported your voice only when it didn't challenge their comfort. But you've learned to stop confusing that kind of conditional attention with love. Real love doesn't flinch when you grow. It expands with you. The moment you stop shrinking is the moment you start rising. And with that rise comes a sacred clarity, one that shows you who claps when you win without needing anything in return, one that reveals who disappears when your light no longer serves their shadow. This clarity is not cruelty, it's wisdom, and wisdom will protect you from people who look good but feel wrong. It will guide you away from words that flatter but actions that wound. It will remind you that you were not created to be confused. Confusion is not love. Love brings peace. Love brings direction. Love brings consistency. Your boundaries are no longer up for negotiation, not because you're hard, but because you're finally whole. You've stopped asking for permission to honor your own standards. You've stopped apologizing for needing emotional safety. And now, the only people who get to stay are those who respect what it took for you to build this peace. You are not responsible for who walks away when you choose yourself. Let them go. What remains will be real. What remains will be rooted. You're learning that solitude is not loneliness. It's preparation. In the silence, your voice becomes clearer. In the quiet, your strength takes shape. And when you return to the world, you return whole. Not needing to be completed. Not begging to be understood, but walking in truth that no longer bends for temporary comfort. You've earned this clarity. You fought for this strength. Now live in it. Let it guide you. Let it guard you. Let it grow you. Because everything you've let go of was never stronger than what you're stepping into. Keep going. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You've chosen yourself. And that decision changes everything. You no longer chase people who treat you like an option. You no longer explain yourself to those who never intended to understand. You no longer waste energy trying to prove your value to those who benefit from your doubt. That season is over. You've stepped into a new space, a space where you walk with clarity, not confusion, where you trust your spirit over someone's charm, where you read actions, not just words, and where you realize that anyone who truly cares for you would never make you feel unsure about it. Your peace is not negotiable. Your worth is not up for debate. And your time is no longer available to those who drain it. The truth is, some people liked you better when you were unsure of yourself, when you bent over backwards just to be tolerated, when you questioned your own needs because someone else called them too much. But growth has shown you that being too much for the wrong people only means you are settling for too little. You are not asking for too much when you ask for honesty, for presence, for respect. You're simply asking the wrong people. Now you understand that love without respect is manipulation, affection without consistency is confusion, and presence without emotional safety is nothing more than performance. You've learned to see through the act. You've learned to walk away from charm when it lacks character. You've learned that silence is an answer and distance is a message. You've stopped chasing closure from people who were never open to begin with. And in that, you found something greater than validation. You found peace. There is no more begging for clarity. You create it. You set the tone. You define the standard. And if someone can't meet it, they're simply not your assignment. Not every hand you hold is meant to walk with you forever. Some are there to teach you what you never want again, and the moment you honor that lesson, your path clears. The wrong voices grow quiet, the fog lifts, and the truth stands tall, stronger than your fear, louder than your doubt. Now you stand in that truth, not with arrogance, but with peace. Because nothing is louder than the silence of a person who has finally found themselves. You no longer argue with lies. You no longer plead for understanding. You simply walk away, not out of bitterness but out of clarity. You choose freedom over familiarity, healing over history, alignment over attachment. That's not weakness, it's strength, quiet, steady, unshakable strength. And this is where you rise, not because others finally saw your worth, but because you stopped waiting for them to. You saw it, you honored it, and you chose to protect it. You've become the guardian of your own peace. And from this point on, anything that threatens that peace will no longer have access to your presence. Keep walking, you're not done yet. You are no longer obligated to carry the weight of false connections. Just because someone once walked beside you does not mean they are qualified to walk with you now. Loyalty to people who have betrayed your spirit is not loyalty, it's self-betrayal. You are not being unkind by protecting your peace. You are not being heartless for closing the door that someone kept misusing. There is no virtue in staying accessible to chaos. You owe your energy to your healing, not to the confusion that kept you stuck. You are not here to save people from the consequences of their choices. You are here to save yourself from the cost of their patterns. The more you grow, the more you see. And what you see, you can't unsee. You begin to notice how some people only show up when they need something, how they speak in circles to avoid accountability, how they retreat the moment you ask for something real. That's not love. That's manipulation dressed in borrowed words. And once you recognize it, you can never tolerate it again. You don't need to expose them. Their behavior already speaks volumes. You don't need revenge. Walking away with your dignity is power enough. The silence you leave behind will echo louder than any confrontation ever could. Not everyone who smiles in your face has clean hands. Some people speak peace while planting seeds of doubt. Some laugh with you while sharpening the knives they plan to use. But you no longer need to fear the truth. You no longer need to deny what your body feels. When something feels off, it usually is. When someone constantly drains you, that is the answer. Energy does not lie. Your intuition was never meant to be silenced. It was meant to guide you. Now you honor it. Now you trust it. And that trust builds protection. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. No more rewriting their patterns into potential. No more hoping their promises will become proof. If they wanted to be different, they already would be. If they respected you, they would show it without you having to ask twice. You are not here to fix, to chase, or to explain yourself to people who have already decided not to listen. You are here to rise above the noise, to choose your future over your fear, and to be relentless in the pursuit of peace. And peace is not passive. Peace requires strength. It means setting boundaries that disappoint others but honor yourself. It means saying no without guilt, walking away without regret, and trusting that what leaves was never meant to stay. Your clarity is your compass. Your self-worth is your anchor. And the moment you start acting like you are enough is the moment your life begins to reflect it. You've wasted enough time questioning your value. Now it's time to embody it. Eyes forward, head high. You were never meant to stay small. Keep walking in your power. Every time you choose peace over drama, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over approval, you are rewriting the story of your life. You are no longer waiting for someone to hand you permission to live with dignity. You are taking it. You are reclaiming your time, your focus, your power. And that decision will offend those who benefited from your silence. It will frustrate those who relied on your doubt, but you are not responsible for their discomfort. You are responsible for your alignment. You are responsible for the life you allow, the energy you absorb, and the standards you enforce. And nothing changes until you decide to change what you tolerate. The people who truly care for you will never feel threatened by your growth. They will not try to shrink your light to keep their own shadows hidden. But the wrong ones will. The wrong people will use guilt to control you. They'll twist your confidence into arrogance, your boundaries into selfishness, your silence into weakness. But you've seen too much now. You've felt the toll of giving too much to those who gave too little. You've lived the exhaustion of being emotionally available to people who were never spiritually present. And you've learned that protecting your peace is not cruelty, it's maturity. Some people will never admit what they did. Some will never apologize. They will rewrite history to avoid accountability. They will play the victim while carrying a knife. But your healing does not depend on their confession. Your freedom is not delayed by their denial. You do not need their permission to move on. The closure you're looking for is not found in their words. It's found in your decision to stop waiting for them to become someone they've proven they are not. There is power in walking away without a speech. There is power in no longer needing to be understood by those who never tried. When you no longer feel the need to explain your worth, you've reached a deeper level of peace. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't force. You simply choose yourself in silence. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Because anyone who sees your value won't need convincing. They'll show up, they'll match energy, they'll respect the weight of your presence. You don't need to become cold to protect your heart. You just need to become clear. You don't need to hate to let go. You just need to stop holding on. Not every connection is sacred. Not every smile is sincere. Not every apology is real. But your awareness is. Your instincts are. And your peace is sacred. Guard it. Trust it. And don't let the fear of being alone keep you in the company of those who make you feel lonely. You are no longer who you used to be. You've seen the truth. You've felt the shift. Now walk in it. You are not broken. You are becoming. Keep rising. You were made for more. You don't need to apologize for evolving. Growth will always make people uncomfortable who are committed to staying the same. Your clarity will expose their confusion. Your strength will reveal their weakness. And when you stop playing small, it threatens those who only feel powerful when you feel less. But you're no longer built for pretending. You're no longer willing to lower your frequency just to keep false peace with people who don't even value real connection. You've come too far to sit in rooms where your soul feels suffocated. You've outgrown conversations that don't nourish your purpose. What used to entertain you no longer excites you. The games, the masks, the shallow validation, it all drains you now. That's not you being distant, cold, or arrogant. That's you being awakened. That's you realizing that energy is currency, and you cannot keep spending it on people who bankrupt your joy. You were not born to survive fake love, polite lies, and conditional loyalty. You were made to live fully, freely, and deeply. And that means having the courage to separate from anything that asks you to shrink who you are in order to be accepted. Real peace comes when you stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. You realize that silence speaks louder than explanation, that walking away is louder than shouting, that self-respect doesn't need an audience to be valid. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need their praise to feel whole. You just need to be aligned with who you were always meant to be. You just need to feel peace when you look in the mirror, knowing you didn't betray yourself for temporary company. The ones who truly love you will never ask you to prove your worth. They will never weaponize your vulnerability. They will hold space for your becoming. They will celebrate your boundaries because they understand love without respect is manipulation. But those who cannot handle your truth will attempt to shame you into silence. They will twist your healing into rebellion. They will call your strength pride. Let them. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your freedom is not their decision. Your future is not theirs to manage. You were not created to be a mirror for their delusion. You are a mirror for truth, light, and power. And the moment you decide to protect your light, you force everything false to fall away. That's not loss. That's alignment. That's not isolation. That's elevation. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them go. You're not here to carry what's not yours. You're here to rise. You're here to lead. You're here to walk fully in your truth. And those who are meant for you will recognize your soul even in your silence. Keep moving. Keep healing. Keep choosing peace over pressure, alignment over approval, and purpose over performance. You were not born to fit in. You were born to break patterns and walk in power. Stay focused. You're not done rising. Not everyone deserves access to you. Your time, your energy, your loyalty, they are sacred. You weren't made to hand them out freely to those who only drain, doubt, or delay your growth. Boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to peace. When you say no to chaos, you say yes to clarity. When you walk away from manipulation, you walk towards self-respect. And when you finally stop explaining your worth, you start embodying it. You owe no one your peace just to keep them comfortable in your life. Your healing journey will disturb people who relied on your brokenness. The truth is, some people only loved you when you needed them. They were addicted to your weakness, not your strength. They applauded your silence, not your voice. They tolerated you small because your growth would force them to look in the mirror. And now that you've chosen to rise, they call it betrayal. But it's not your job to shrink so others can feel tall. It's not your responsibility to bleed just to keep someone else from aching. You are not selfish for putting yourself first. You are not cold for protecting your peace. You are not wrong for finally choosing you. It's okay to walk alone for a while. Solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's where you hear your own voice without the noise of everyone else's opinions. It's where you rebuild your identity, not based on who others need you to be, but on who you truly are. And in that silence, you find strength. In that quiet space, you realize you were never lost. You were just distracted. You were giving your heart to people who couldn't even handle your honesty. Now it's time to give that heart back to its rightful owner, you. The more you heal, the less interested you become in chaos. Peace starts feeling like home, and you begin to recognize toxicity faster. You no longer argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer beg to stay in rooms where you're barely tolerated. You no longer water relationships that only drain you in return. And this isn't bitterness. This is wisdom. This is discernment. This is spiritual maturity. You've learned that love without truth is a lie. That kindness without boundaries is weakness. That loyalty to the wrong people is betrayal to yourself. You didn't come this far just to be polite. You didn't survive the storms just to settle for calm lies. You're here to live boldly, to speak clearly, to love wisely, to protect your purpose fiercely. And no one, not even those who once meant everything, gets to take you back to a version of yourself you've outgrown. Let their absence be your clarity. Let their exit be your elevation. The people meant to walk with you will never make you question your value. They'll see your light and protect it. Until then, keep walking, keep growing, keep rising. You are becoming everything they said you'd never be. Keep going. You're almost unrecognizable, for all the right reasons.